Hi, y'all. I'm Allison. I asked y'all to submit a middle grade books that we could potentially read together for our March Start and Stop Buddy Read, and boy, did y'all deliver. We have a great list. I'm about to run through them. Then we'll spin the wheel to shortlist it down to 3, and then I will put it up for a vote. So y'all will have the final say on what book we'll be reading together in March. Now, this little buddy read will take about a week, maybe a week and a half. There'll be a series of videos with the videos ending on the page number that you have randomly selected to go along with your book. These buddy reads are so fun, and I can't wait to do a middle grade one with y'all. In fact, I was really hesitant to do this as our theme. I was afraid that I was going to alienate everybody, and I love how much you embraced it and that everybody's as excited for it as I am. All right, let's get into our list of books and see what our possibilities are. First up, from Stacy S., we have The Girl Who Drank the Moon. This is by Kelly Barnhill. It came out in 2016, and it is a fantasy. So Stacy has read this for years, but she hasn't gotten around to reading it. So this will give her the chance to finally do that. And it's going to have witches, magic, and moonlight will be a big factor in it. There's also, I think, a haunted forest. Next up, from Kimberly K., we have Alcatraz and the Evil Librarians by Brandon Sanderson. So Kimberly's never read a Sanderson book and thought this would be a good place to start. And it will also fit Buzzword because it has a character name in the title. So for those of y'all who are doing Buzzword, here's an option for you. This one came out in 2007. It is a fantasy as well. And it's a lighthearted adventure tale with a touch of mystery. Next up, from Claire Rogers, we have Fablehaven by Brandon Mull, 2006 fantasy. So Fablehaven is a hidden refuge from magical creatures. And if I remember the middle grade March prompts themselves, this one could fit because I know this was quite hyped before. And I think one of the prompts was to read a hype book that you haven't gotten to. So if you're looking for options for that, there's Fablehaven might fit that for you. Moving along, from Fallon O'Connor, we have Wonderscape by Jennifer Bell. This came out in 2020. It's a fantasy sci-fi. And Fallon said that 3 kids are going to find themselves trapped in the year 2473, lost in an in-reality adventure game. So we're going to have like a competition in this one with some sci-fi. Next up, from L.P. Harris, is Small Spaces by Catherine Arden. This 2018 horror mystery is a ghost story. So LP says that it will, of course, fit middle grade March, and it sounds really interesting. The author is originally from Texas. I love that. And it doesn't fit any of her monthly prompts, but it sounds really intriguing and she wants to read it. So this will be a good excuse to get to it. Okay, next up, from Winnie, we have The Unwanteds by Lisa McMahon. Her name sounds familiar. I'll have to look into that later. This is a 2011 dystopian fantasy. Winnie has heard good things about this series, and it's already on her TBR, so that would be awesome. And according to Storygraph, this is The Hunger Games meets Harry Potter, so that could be a lot of fun. I love anything with a competition. Next up, from Janaea at Live a Thousand Lives, we have East by Edith Pateau. Now, Janaea has been submitting this book diligently since we started our Start and Stop Buddy Reads, and hopefully one of these days it'll actually make the short list in the least. So this 2003 fantasy is on the higher end of middle grade. I looked it up, and Janaea said as well that it is a higher middle grade read. This is for like 12 and up. Storygraph marks it as YA, but technically it is middle grade. It's probably that gray area between the two. So this is going to be like a romantic adventure, and it is one of Janaea's favorite reads of all time. She really wants to share it with us. From Lucinda, we have The Thief Lord by Cornelia Funk. Lucinda listened to this while on a family road trip years ago, but she only heard like the first hour, and she really wants to finish it. She liked how the book was focusing on the relationship between the 2 brothers, and the setting in Venice is very charming. So this fantasy came out in 2000. It's a heartwarming adventure with orphans on the run in Venice. And it has a magical treasure too. Next up, from Whitney at Tabara's Den, we have The Mysterious Benedict Society. This 2007 mystery sci-fi is by Trenton Lee Stewart, and it has been sitting on Whitney's shelves for years waiting to be read. I actually owned this book at one point, but I must have unhauled it at some time. I think I had planned to read this one with my kids while homeschooling, and we never got around to it, and I needed space. So this is a humorous adventure tale with mystery and puzzles. Next up from Danielle Bookbrat, we have Skandar and the Unicorn Thief by A.F. Stedman. This was her 8-year-old's favorite read from last summer. It came out in 2022. It's a fantasy. It's an adventure with magic and a twist on traditional unicorns. I think the unicorns are bad. Then from Carol Leathers, we have Alone by Megan Freeman. This came out in 2021. It's a dystopian that crosses over into poetry. It's actually written in verse. So she hasn't read it yet, but it sounds really good and it meets the criteria, which is always a good thing. This one is about survival in a deserted town. Next up from Brittany's Books and Random Things, we have A Ship of Shadows by Maria Kuznier. This 2020 fantasy is pirates and magic. Brittany says, I like pirates. I agree. You don't really need to know anything else. Pirates. And I think female pirates. Next up from Pagey Girl, all the way from Australia, we have Skullduggery Pleasant by Derek Landy. Fantasy mystery came out in 2007, and Pagey Girl recommended this one way back for our very first buddy read. I was so excited by this one. I almost bought this one, but the cover wasn't the one that I originally found, and I was so mad I didn't get that awesome cover that I didn't pick it up. So this one is definitely still on my radar. Don't let that influence you, though. And this has a wisecracking skeleton detective, a humorous adventure with a touch of mystery. Next up, we have Imperial Owl. Good to see you again with The Bellwoods Game by Celia Crampion. It's a 2023 horror, relatively new release. I think it came out in July. And it's Haunted Woods, and it's got a game like competition thing. And I think this one ties into Halloween. Love that cover. Fall vibes all over the place. And it's illustrated. So Imperial Owl says that this has been on her TBR since early last year. So it's just waiting. Yeah, we've all got a lot of books like that. Moving right along from Kit Kat, we have Keeper of the Lost Cities by Shannon Messenger, 2012 fantasy. And she recommended it because of the hype. I haven't read it either. I think we had one earlier, but just in case, this would also count for the official prompts for middle grade March, because I know one of them was a book you missed out on, and Keepers of the Lost City, it was definitely hyped a couple years back. This is an adventure with magic and telepathy. Next up, we have Stacy L., who was so gracious to switch her original submission, The Red Pyramid, to The Lost Hero by Rick Riordan, because I just finished the Red Pyramid trilogy. Read that very recently, so that would be really hard to pretend not to know what's going to happen. So she moved on to the next one in the Percy Jackson universe. This one is based on Roman mythology. And if I remember correctly, we might have some crossover from Percy's group. I'm not positive. Red Pyramid has no crossover whatsoever. Okay, so anyway, Stacey recommended this one because she's reading the Percy Jackson series and wants to continue on with Rick Riordan. Very good reason. Next up from Tanya Reid, we have Thornwood by Lee Sipis, 2021 fantasy. Tanya says that she loves middle grade, and she's had this for over a year and wants to read it, but still hasn't picked it up. Join the club. You know how many of those I have? A lot. So anyway, this is a Sleeping Beauty retelling with kind of a twist because it's from the younger sister's point of view, which I am very intrigued by. And again, this would fit another middle grade March official prompt because this is Lee Sipis's debut novel. So if you are looking for books to fill those prompts, there's a middle grade debut for you. Moving right along, we have Amanda R., and she gives us A Pinch of Magic by Michelle Harrison. This came out in 2019. It is a fantasy, and Amanda heard really good things about it, and it's been on her shelf for years. I'm seeing a theme here. So this one has 3 sisters that are going on a quest to break a curse, and there is a mystery element to this one as well. And last but not least, we have Mia Farias, I hope I pronounced your name right. This is a brand new potential buddy reader. I'm glad you decided to join us or at least submit a book for the first time. And she has submitted The Search for Wandla by Tony DiTerlizzi. Probably butchered that as well. So, Mia's friend showed her a cover of this, and she was so intrigued by it. She went and read the synopsis and thought it sounded really good. And she's been wanting to read more sci-fi. So add an intriguing plot, and she was like, yep, I'm adding this to the list. And in case you didn't figure out, this is a sci-fi fantasy that came out in 2009. It's a space age adventure with a post-apocalyptic twist. Say that 10 times fast. Again, this is another one that would fit the middle grade March prompts because it would have refugee. She's going to be leaving her area and going somewhere else. So there's our list of books, and they all sound incredible. I want to read all of these. My wish list just grew by, I think, 19 books. All right, let me pull up the wheel. Let's give it 3 spins, find out which ones are going to be on our short list before I put it to a vote for y'all. Okay, let's see what our first one is. Lily's at my feet, of course. The Bellwoods Game. Okay, awesome. So that was Imperial Owl's book. I love this cover. Isn't that gorgeous? So the Bellwoods Game is 320 pages, depending on your edition. Fall Hollow is haunted, and it has been since Abigail Snook went into the woods on Halloween night. Since then, it's a tradition for the 6th graders at Beckett Elementary to play the Bellwoods Game on Halloween. 3 kids are chosen to go into the woods. Whoever rings the bell wins the game and saves the town for another year. But if Abigail's ghost captures the players first, the spirit is let loose to wreak havoc on Fall Hollow, or so the story goes. Now it's Bailey's turn to play. Legend has it the winner also gets a wish. So maybe if she wins, she can go back before her grandmother got sick and before everyone at school hated her. So, sounds really good, and I have a feeling it's going to be quite heartwarming and spooky and scary. This is a horror, and obviously it's set around Halloween. I absolutely love this cover. Okay, that sounds really good. Let's go ahead and spin the wheel and see what it's going to be going up against. So exciting. The Thief Lord. This was Lucinda. Lucinda, your book came up. This one, I admit this one really intrigued me when I saw it. The thought of Venice and the orphans. Let me look it up and give you some more info, and then we will move on to our third spin. I've read one by Cornelia Funk before. It was the Inkheart series. I really love that one. So this is The Thief Lord. Came out in 2000, and it's 350 pages. It's about the same length, almost. So this time we're going to have 2 orphan children on the run, hiding among the crumbling canals and misty alleyways of Venice. They're befriended by a gang of street children and their leader, the Thief Lord. And they shelter in an old, disused cinema. On their trail, there's a bumbling detective obsessed with disguises and the health of his pet tortoises. But a greater threat to the boys' newfound freedom is something from a forgotten past. A beautiful, magical chest with the power to spend time itself. So this sounds like a lot of fun too. It's going to be on your lighthearted, humorous side, and they're going to be navigating Venice. As I mentioned before, listen to like the first hour of this on audio. Really enjoyed it, but never got around to finishing it. And she said that Venice was just really charming in it. So there's your other option. And let's find out what our third book on the list is going to be. Okay, our last one. Lagging, of course. Jeez, talk about being dramatic. Okay, you can do it. go. A Pinch of Magic. That one sounded like a lot of fun too. Okay, let me look up more information on that one. So A Pinch of Magic, 397 pages. So they're all right about the same length. Another fantasy. This one was 2019 as a reminder. And Michelle Harrison. And this time we're going to have three sisters on a quest to break a curse that's haunted their family for generations. All Betty wants is an adventure, one that will take her far away from her gloomy island where she has always lived. But instead, she and her sisters, Fliss and Charlie, are given a set of magical objects. A scruffy carpet bag, a set of wooden nesting dolls, and a gilt-framed mirror. And these all have their own magical properties. But they also come with a terrible secret. The sisters' family is haunted by a generations-old curse that prevents them from ever leaving the island at the cost of death. So the sisters set out to break the curse that will free their family forever. And they stumble upon a mysterious prisoner who claims they can help them. But they find out they're in grave danger. But in order to break the curse and save themselves, they have to unravel a mystery that goes back centuries. One that involves shipwrecks, smugglers, and sorcery of the most perilous kind. So that one sounds good too. Quite adventurous. I don't know how y'all are going to pick. All three of these just sound phenomenal, and I want to read them all. I really wish we had enough time to do all three books that are chosen. I always feel bad for the ones that aren't picked. But, you know, there's only so much time in a month. I am quickly discovering. All right, so there are your three options. You are going to have until 6 p.m. Central Time on Friday, March 1st to cast your vote. I will have it over in the community tab. Lily is bumping my tripod. So go over there, cast your vote. Votes cast down below in the description. While you're more than welcome to say what you're going to vote for, I'm not going to be counting those. I will only be counting what appears in the poll. If for some reason you can't get to the poll, then note it down in the comments and say, I couldn't vote in the poll, count my vote. And then I will add it to the poll. Otherwise, you know, discuss all you want down in the comments about it, but those aren't official votes. So you will have until 6 p.m. Friday, March 1st to cast your vote. Then I will be back, all goes well, on a Saturday, March 2nd at noon with the announcement video telling you which book won, and I will have the exact dates for our readathon. I know what some people have done in the past, in fact, quite a lot of y'all have started to put your holds on earlier rather than later and just put a holds on all three books, which may not be a bad idea. So as soon as you finish watching this, go over, cast your vote, and then don't forget to come back on Saturday to see which book is going to win and to get the exact dates for our buddy read. It will be mid-March at some point. I just don't know the exact dates yet. So my husband is changing from first shift to third. So all time schedules are just going to be thrown out the window. And until we settle back down, it's going to be hard to predict anything with any certainty. Okay, so I'm excited to see what's going to win. They all sound phenomenal, and thank you so much for not only submitting books, but embracing the theme this month as much as y'all did. I love to see middle grade love for books. All right, I hope to see you day after tomorrow, where, if all goes well, I will actually have my Just Spin It game for March coming out a little early, because I will be playing that twice this month, so this will give you a little break in between. All right, I hope to see you then.